All right, day 2 of week 10. Let's get started. All right, so slavery in the South. This is always a hard topic to talk about, but it is part of our history, and history is important so that we don't repeat our mistakes. So let's get talking. All right, so slavery existed in Latin America as early as 1515 when Spain and Portugal brought slaves to the New World. So it existed in other parts of the world before it ever existed here in North America, or in the Americas. In 1526, a Spanish colony was set up in Georgia. However, it was not a successful colony. It didn't hold up, it failed, but some of the 100 African slaves that they brought with them may have actually been able to escape and live among the Seminole Indians in Florida, which is good. Later, in 1619, a Dutch ship brought enslaved Africans to the Jamestown settlement in Virginia. Now, when settlers started moving south and moving to Alabama, the practice of slavery unfortunately followed them as well to the south. So slavery existed in the north before it ever existed in the south. It was brought here to us. Unfortunately, slavery did go on for many years in the South, and however, most poor white frontier families actually didn't even have enough money to own slaves. So there was a huge majority of people who did not partake in slavery because they were not able to. It was mainly the plantation owners and those who were a lot more wealthy. All right, let's build a cabin. So most people on the frontier lived in log cabins that look something a little bit similar to this. They learned to help each other build their log homes. The men would cut trees down and they would whack off any of the limbs that were in the way with sharp axes. They then cut out the divots in the logs so that they would fit one on top of the other. I don't know if y'all have ever built with Lincoln logs, but you know those little kind of dips in the piece so that they can sit flush with each other? That's what they did in these as well. Roofs were made from shorter trees that were then cut into boards. Sometimes they hammered wood pegs into the roof to hold it together, kind of acting as nails, but they didn't always have that option. So sometimes they just threw really heavy rocks on there to keep the roof in place where they needed it. Kids helped too. The kids didn't get left out of it. The kids were helping in building log cabins as well. They took and mixed up twigs, pebbles, and mud, and they mixed batches of it up, and they put them in the spaces between the logs because there was no point in building a log cabin if you were just going to let the wind come through the gaps in the wood. So they made those batches of that mixture to put in between each log so that the wind did not come through the house and keep the house cold, and then that way they were able to stay a little bit warmer. All right, there was plenty of religion in the Old South, just like there's plenty of religion around here now. There's plenty of religion in the South before the Civil War. The Catholic Church had actually been around since the French were in charge. However, in the 1800s, things kind of took a turn of events, and there was a Methodist preacher, his name was Lorenzo Dow, and he rode throughout the countryside with other ministers, and they preached that way, riding on horses. They just went from town to town. They were called circuit preacher or circuit riders. And they actually became so popular that people started adding rooms onto their houses just for traveling preachers to stay in. Can you imagine just building a room onto your house just so that you could have a preacher come stay in it? Pretty crazy. They were pretty popular, and they gained popularity very quickly as well. People would even leave their doors open just in case a preacher came into town after they had already gone to bed. Would you feel comfortable leaving your doors wide open just in case a preacher came through? They didn't even know for sure preachers were coming through. It was just in case. Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about that. Preachers preach sermons, but they also helped in other ways, just like a lot of preachers and ministers and pastors help today. But some of these preachers actually helped establish some of the very first Alabama schools. So that's pretty cool. All right, guys, that is where we are going to leave off today. I will see you tomorrow to wrap up this lesson for day 3. See you then, guys. Have a great rest of your day.